John, you've been regarded as an artist now. Do you like that title?
Well, I think I'm just maybe beginning to scratch the surface of becoming an artist. I don't think artist hasn't, the term hasn't been defined well enough yet, maybe. I feel like I'm just beginning to feel what the real established artists of the past had felt while they started carving stone or painting or something like Michelangelo or Rembrandt. Those people, I'm just beginning to feel what they must have felt.
John Cody, born on the east coast of the United States in 1950, began carving and selling shortly after arriving in California in 1966. His works are shown in many museums and private collections. Having sold more than 300 pieces, he is regarded by critics and collectors and other artists the world over as a genius working in stone. What we see and hear now are excerpts from a conversation with John Cody.
Are you a trained artist?
No, just self-trained. I train myself as I go along.
You've never gone to a art school? Or
No.
have you learned line flow and balance and that sort of thing, either from a book or from another artist?
No, most of the stuff, well, you just pick it up by yourself, especially with me. I just pick it up, you know, if there is balance in the things that I do. If people think they are, then I pick it up from myself. I've never learned it from anywhere.
Do you think that that's a legitimate way? Would you like to go to an art school?
No, I don't. I think an art school would just teach you somebody else's version of the same thing you're doing. And I just as soon do it myself.
Do you think that carving is a lost art?
I don't know. I think carving's probably one of the earliest of all art forms, I think. Before painting or before anything else. Just the fact of holding something in your hand and changing the shape of it, whether you're making a tool or turning it into an idol or something that you want to enjoy.
Do you feel that being an artist gives you extra freedom, or is it more confining?
If you're talking about making a living, or if you're talking about that type of thing, yeah. To me, I think an artist, if you're an artist and you do well, or even if you don't do well, I think you're still freer than most people. Most people that hold down a regular job, because you tend to be nurturing your ideas and your inspirations and stuff. And to do that, you have to be a lot more freer than doing something every day, going to a job every day. That sort of retards the whole process of creation, I think. It kind of puts a damper on it.
Do you like the idea of your stuff being sold?
To dream, maybe, you know, to dream of a society where you didn't have to, the monetary values and things like that didn't exist. I mean, it's like a whole different thing. I would rather have it that way. But since we're living in this money type of thing, and that I can carve and I can make a living out of it, and I can be free by doing it, that I exist this way. And it doesn't bother me so much that the pieces sell, and then a lot of times, actually, it sort of helps in the fact that the people who buy them really appreciate them enough to spend their money on it. Most of them, I think, have bought the pieces because they've enjoyed the pieces. And then there's a few people who bought them because of an investment type thing.
How do you know what a piece is going to be? Does the rock fit your idea, or does your idea fit the rock?
Well, that's kind of another question that you have to answer with sometimes and maybe not the next time. Because a lot of times I'll get an idea first and I'll work it into the stone. And then sometimes I can't get any idea, and I'll go to the refuge of the stone and turn it around and fool with it and carve on it, and then pick up an idea from the stone. And then sometimes I'll have an idea for the stone, and I'll start it on the piece, and I'll be halfway through it, and then all of a sudden it'll turn into something completely different from what I started out with.
So the stone isn't overpowering you particularly?
No, it doesn't really overpower. I mean, it doesn't physically change all of a sudden. You kind of tend that your other idea you don't quite like enough, and you don't think it's going to be right, and this other new idea is just beginning to take over your excitement.
Do any of the pieces reflect your inner feelings?
Not as a self-portrait type thing, but I read feelings that I have in most of the pieces. I mean, actually, I put down feelings I've had, so I know they're from inside of myself. Yeah, maybe so. I haven't been at it long enough to be able to self-analyze the whole situation to find out that, all these things I find out about myself, let's say. But I do see a certain amount of stuff, that therapeutic value or something, or maybe like...
Do you think that's important to you?
That's important to me because I keep growing. I mean, the more I do it, and the more I learn and understand about it, the more I grow and change. You have to keep changing constantly. You have to always be open for something new in order to grow. You can't, as soon as you lock your mind up and not learn anything else or not take in anything else and just live that way, it becomes very, I think too many people do that. Too many people close their mind off to what's going on.
Do you think of making social comments in your work?
Yeah, when I do, I make certain comments that I want to make. The things that I see that either are wrong or that are good, I do them, they come out in the stone.
Are you expressing yourself the way you want to?
Well, so far, it seems to me like I have a hard time expressing things, getting ideas across verbally. Like if I go in front of somebody and I try to tell them an idea that I have, they look at me like I'm crazy. And that really irritates me because I can't get it across verbally to people. And all of a sudden I realize that language is really a hard thing to get unless you're maybe a real artist at language. And so I have a hard time, and I see that I can't communicate with people that well. And the only other way I can communicate is more of the extra sense, like a sixth sense that you have, or ESP, this type of thing, by just picking up feelings that other people have. That's the only other way I can communicate, but still that's limited. But for some reason, when I carve stone, I get across ideas that I can't get across. Or let's say if I have an idea, if I work that idea out in a physical matter type form, it usually gets right across to people. Or if I do it the other way, language type of thing, I'm really frustrated and I can't really get it worked out. So I do see that my stonework is really an outlet I can get my ideas across to people.
Do you think that people, if they could get into art or some form of it, or sculpturing, could perhaps express their inner thoughts a little better, and that we could all communicate a little better?
To me, it seems like it would be easy for them. But I'm beginning the more I work, the more I see people come up to me, try to learn. I give them as many tips and ideas as I can, and then they go off and do it themselves and just cannot get it together. They just can't do it. And to me, it seems so easy, but to them, it's just super hard. So it must be the same relationship with me not having a hard time getting my ideas across to people as it is for them having a hard time carving stone. Just something maybe that some people just can't do. So I don't think that everybody, could benefit by carving. If they couldn't do it, they'd just frustrate them that much more.
Do you ever do a commercial piece?
Sometimes I'll go in there and I'll think, oh God, I need some money and I'm going to have to get back to work, and that's about as far as it gets. As far as doing things for money, it's just maybe a thing to get me back in the garage and work or something like that. But most of the time when I try to do a piece, now I'll do it once in a while. I'll try to go in there and carve a piece strictly because I'm broke or something, and it never works out. It always breaks. I always follow it up somehow or another and end up losing a lot more time than I would have gotten if I just went in there without thinking about it.
What do you think of artists who work for the money?
Well, usually artists that work for the money will duplicate themselves so damn many times that you can just see it.
Even if their techniques are good and their paintings are good?
Yeah, it's just like being a printing machine. If you can print out so many newspapers. See, again, there they close up. They don't change. so they can't grow. They just stay in that one thing. Maybe the only thing they can grow on is their pocketbook. As far as them growing any, they're not going to, and I don't think they can be sincere. I don't think if you do an original piece of art and then you duplicate it, you're not being fair to yourself, and you're not being fair to somebody who bought the original piece or the first piece or whatever you want to say. But if you improve upon the idea, now there's a difference between duplicating something and improving upon an idea that you had originally. If you carve something and you have a good idea, and you do a piece and it stands by itself, and then that same idea is still with you, and you still haven't quite got out what you have inside, and you hash it out again, you come out with something different but related, maybe. Related, two ideas are about the same, but they're not identical, and each one can stand on their own. Well, that's as close to duplicating as I come, anyway, and as I think that most artists should.
Have you taken one theme or one piece and improved upon it to that degree?
Yeah, I've done like a few pieces that I've worked on over and over and over again, trying to get ideas out, and each time I sort of carving stone is a little bit, it's harder to fall into the trap of like painting. Painting is really easy to fall into the thing of duplicating yourself, but stone, I can work on an idea and I always come up with something different. I just do it till I'm satisfied with it. And I'm not trying to sell it. I'm not trying to do it better to sell it. I'm just trying to do it better to satisfy my own inner needs about getting the right thing out.
What's the story on the tool situation? You're not using power tools. You could be grinding away and using a power sander and a power drill and a whole bunch of things like that. Why are you doing this by hand?
Well, I think mainly the power tools is too modern. And especially working with a stone, you can't have anything that you can't feel. I have to feel a stone from the very beginning. It has to be a relationship between my hands and all my senses to feel whether the stone is going to work out where it won't split in half or break on me, or after I have it finished, after it's completely carved and have the thing fall apart or something like that. And power tools tend to the noise and electricity, and you just get a whole different static in it. It's just something completely different when you're carving a piece of stone with this. You can go whipping by a crack in the stone and not even feel it, and have no sense from inside of you when you're working on this. And when you carve with a hand chisel, I mean, every time you hit that chisel, you can feel the vibration through the chisel, through the stone, to the ground you're standing on. So you're really in relationship to the earth. You're really sort of got all your senses right on this thing, and you don't get fooled by something that's out of your control, like electricity and power tools. They're out of your control. There's something else, another force going on that's not your energy going into the stone.
How many different kinds of tools does it take to work on a piece?
Well, most sculptors and things, and articles and books and lists of tools that you need range. They have a tremendous range of tools that you can use. But I can carve. Sometimes I can carve a piece with just one chisel. Just use one chisel all the way through, and then use a rasp maybe, and then sandpaper. So I can get down. So maybe I can use just 3 basic things to finish it.
We were discussing tools and hand tools, and you make your own tools.
Well, I just believe in sort of doing everything self-sufficient, just do it all by myself. And plus, the tools are another mass, too. It's like stone. It's sort of the same type of thing. I like to know what I'm carving the stone with, and feel the chisel, and know how to make it, and know the capabilities of it while I'm carving the stone. It just sort of adds to the whole thing of really getting down to earth, getting really down in there and carving this thing, and having the right tools in your hand, the ones that you've made and the ones that you know are going to work a certain way.
How did you learn to make your own tools?
Well, I talked to a couple blacksmiths and just started messing around with it and trying to figure out how to be a blacksmith. And that's an art in itself. That's a whole other thing.
Have you learned that art?
Well, I've gotten so I can get by. I haven't. It's a fantastic art. It's just unbelievable amounts of stuff to learn in it. But I've just learned enough to make my tools. that's only one fragment of a metal iron worker or whatever you want to call it.
Would you like to do that if you had the time?
Oh yeah, I really enjoy doing that. Every time I get a chance, I get in there and mess around and make something out of iron or steel or something other than a chisel.
What makes you carve, John?
Well, it just seems that one day I'll carve something and maybe I won't do it for a while, and then all of a sudden there I am carving again. I don't feel anything driving me. I get an idea and I do it. Nothing like tremendous impulses that you can put your finger down on it saying, this is driving me to carve. I get ideas and it's just sort of something natural, something that I do sort of like breathing. I breathe and I carve at the same time.
Do you think a mechanic who has a great way with automobiles, or a house painter who has a great way with house painting, do you think that they're communicating as much as you are with your stone, or other artists with paints?
Well, I think art is put on a different level. Art is put on a level of really communicating. So right then people know that they're supposed to do this type of thing to it. They're supposed to look at it and go through the whole thing. Matter of fact, I find this out because I like to work on engines myself, small engines, motorcycle engines. And once I'm done, and I've done all this work inside this engine, putting it all together, all the gears and the shifting mechanisms and things, and I get it all together, and I really want to show somebody this, but you can't. It's contained in this engine. It's not an object. It's a mechanical thing. It's something that you get satisfaction out of by doing it, by working on it yourself or whatever you're doing with it. And you can't communicate with those objects. They're sort of materialistic things that just play a part. They're just functional things. Let's say if a mechanic was an artist, I'll put it that way, I think he'd be very frustrated because he wouldn't be able to communicate.
Do you think some contemporary artists, are putting the public on?
Yeah, I have to think that. I really have to think that they're really putting people on. Not all of them, and even like maybe two artists can have somewhat the same idea, and one could be putting them on, the other wouldn't. But to me, it shows up the one that's not putting them on, even though they might do something similar, something abstract or something weird. Maybe the one that is really sincere about it, that's trying to develop some sort of artistic creation, type of communication thing, it shows up in his work. But there's a lot of stuff that's just really junk.
Do you ever put anybody on with your pieces?
Oh, maybe the only thing that I put on is not maybe a joke type of thing. Not that my piece is a joke, but that maybe somebody will think it's this, but it's really something different. Maybe I like to get the idea, I want to fool somebody by making them think that this is something where really inside of me it's something different. Maybe letting them have a little bit harder a time trying to find out really what I'm carving in that piece of stone.
Along that line, are you trying to express one thing and figuring that they're going to see something else?
Right. That's sort of what it is. Like.
Do you want them to find out what the real thing is?
It doesn't really matter to me. I mean, whether they find it out, but I know it's there. It's sort of, it's there in that stone, and it'll always be there. And maybe 20 years go by, and maybe then the person will realize it. But, oh yeah, maybe I do. Maybe I would like them to discover it eventually. But I don't want it to slap them in the face when they walk up onto it. That's as far as I go as far as putting people on. Let's put it that way. But it's still there eventually. It's in there.
Do you like doing torsos and things of that nature?
Yeah, I enjoy them. Everything I do, I really like to do. The only time that I don't like to do anything is if I start to duplicate something, and then I stop myself. I just can't get excited.
How do you pick out a rock, John? Where do you get it?
Well, I get them anywhere, really. Out in the mountains or along the seashore or in the desert or somewhere. Anywhere where I find a rock that I think I can carve. Sometimes it's hard and sometimes it's easy. And just a physical thing of finding your stone and bringing it down and doing all that type of stuff. It involves a lot of physical work, especially getting the stone. That may be physically the hardest part. And the supreme dream of somebody going out to look for a rock, this would be a good story, a good nightmare story. To start walking up a creek looking for good rocks to carve, and all of a sudden seeing sort of a polished one there, and then a polished one over there, and then a little guy's face there, and all of a sudden the whole creek, as you go farther up, turn every rock is a little person or a carved figure out. That'd just really be too much for somebody to take. That's just sort of how I see it when I walk through there, though. But then at the same time, it's just my imagination. I can just let it go.
Would you like to take and work on a piece of stone, get it up to a certain point, whether finished, what you call done, or, and then put it back out in the wilderness and let somebody come across it?
I've always been wanting to do that. That sounds wild. But that would be neat, though, to take one and stick it out somewhere. Have some dude fall upon it sometime. It really blows his mind.
Is it a lonely job?
Well, just the part when I carve is lonely. Just when I get in there and I get into myself and I forget about everything else but the stone. And it's not being like you're alone in the world, but it's being alone with yourself. And you just have time, so it gives you time to meditate, and you walk around in a trance most of the time.
Is there a lot of self-hypnotism involved, or is there just deep concentration?
I really can't, I don't know exactly what it would be. It's sort of combination, maybe a combination of both. It's just that, like I said, I go into sort of a trance. I'm there, I walk in, I yell at people and do all sorts of weird things and eat dinner and go to sleep and do all the normal things, but I sort of walk more of a straight line. I kind of, when I come in the house, I just sort of walk straight in and I do what I have to do and, say what I have to say to people, and I just sort of turn around and walk straight out again and go right into the garage and go to work. And I kind of don't, I just don't let my mind wander to everything that's around in the environment. I kind of maybe have like one thing, like blinders on, and I just see one thing, just a stone in my head, and I can still function, to an acceptable degree in society, let's say, without, somebody saying, hey, that guy is weird, he's walking around like an idiot.
Would you like to be able to get deeper into it without having to worry about whether people said you were weird or not?
No, I don't care. To me, it's sort of funny if they say you're weird. But what I like more of a environment where I could do it. In other words, I like to be more isolated, like in the mountains, or someplace where I have my house, where I can be more isolated, not worrying about somebody driving into the driveway and coming into my studio and interrupting me. Like if I'm far enough away, then people can't interrupt me as easy. And when they do interrupt me, it'll probably be more of a thing that I would enjoy them coming. Where the way I live now is there's just a little bit too much activity going on for me to get where I would really want, the environment that I really like.
Can you look at somebody else's work and see what they're trying to say?
Yeah, pretty much so I can see, it all depends. Sometimes you can see and sometimes you can't see. The whole trick, again, is being able to see.
Do you think that comes with experience, or do you think that it's just in your own mind whether you can open up and see things? I
think maybe when a person first realizes that he has to see, that's when it works. He might not see everything at first, but once he realizes that there's something you have to open up and see, use your inner eyes or whatever have you, to pick up on things. That's when you start to get it, that very first time. And it's hard to say where the first time is, or how it comes, or if you've already seen it or you haven't. Now, when I mean see, I don't mean just physically seeing. There's just some sort of weird thing that a lot of people are closed off to. They don't open those channels. It's just another sense. Once you get that sense of maybe open-mindedness or something, maybe that's when it comes about. Because I know it's true with music. There's a lot of people who just say, yeah, I don't know that music. You know, that stuff doesn't mean anything to me. Which maybe if they, could see a little bit more, could understand a little bit more, maybe they would pick up on it.
Do you like to shock people with any of your work?
Well, I just like, whether it's shock or the element of surprise, I don't like to let anybody see it until I'm done. Like with the marble piece in the film, I mean, that was just like one of the very few pieces that anybody's ever even seen while I worked on it. Because even the statements from my wife, she didn't even know I worked like that. She didn't even know how I worked until she saw that piece being worked on.
Is that right?
Even Cliff, after 4 years of being here, he just had no idea that I worked on a film like that. He thought that it just sort of came magically, that I went in there and messed around and didn't work and came back and here was this piece all carved out. I like to do pieces and have him enjoy them especially. He and Connie, my wife, when they both enjoy something, then I know I did a piece that was really good. They're sort of like my first safe critics that I don't have to worry too much about. But up until the time I bring it in the gallery or in the house, I just don't like anybody around seeing it.
How do you know when a piece is done?
Oh, I just sort of, I think you know when it's done when you're carving it, when you're in the actual state of hitting it with a hammer and a chisel and you're grinding away like that, and all of a sudden the piece looks just right to you. Then to me that's done. And then the rest of it, I mean, it's done in your own mind. I mean, to other people it might not be, but to me it's when it's carved solid like that and carved out rough, and I see the whole idea, and I don't have to worry about the stone breaking anymore. And all I have to do now is just file it down and rasp it down and grind it down and polish it and everything. To me, at that point, that very point of the last chisel you hit into it is when it's done.